Okay, we will start. So today is the 20th anniversary of the FIFA World Cup 2006 final match between France and Italy. So 20 years ago, as a teenager, I was watching this match, and probably I didn't expect that at some point in my career, I will be able to analyze it using tracking data that we have access to through a Skill Corner TV broadcast tracking data. And what we want to do is that we want to look into the profile of some of these legends and see what we can learn about their, let's say, match based on the data instead of relying on maybe emotions and passion that a lot of commentators would do. So these are just some names that you're going to go through them. You have number 10 from France, Zidane, you have Thierry Henry, you have Patrick Vieira, and you have Makelele, number 6 from France. And for Italy, we have Totti, we have Cannavaro, we have Pirlo, Gattuso. So it's really going to be interesting and fun to see what we can learn about them based on data, and also how each team has played during that game and how they reacted to what happened on the pitch. So when we look into the starting lineup formations, you can watch the full match video of this match on YouTube, and that's where you can see that for each team, the starting 11s are shown on TV before kickoff. But this, like what maybe we are used to right now, that we also see the formation and how they are going to basically being distributed on the pitch. We don't have that information, at least back in those days. So what we can do, we can just maybe find a public source. In this case, I just selected Transfermarkt. And for that match, this is how basically they have recorded each team has played. For France, they had 4-2-3-1, and for Italy, they had 4-4-1-1. So this is basically probably experts or match analysts' point of view based on watching that match. We are going to use them as references and compare them with what we can see in the tracking data. So the tracking data provided by Skill Corner, where we have access to the coordinates of the players and the ball 10 frames per second. You can see an animation of that on the right side. So for example, the white team is France playing from bottom to top, and blue team is Italy from top to bottom. You can see also there is a green area basically showing where the TV frame is present at each moment. And you can probably recognize based on only the shirt number some of these players. Maybe I play against the video. So you have number 10, Zidane, you have 12, Henry, you have 6, Makelele, you have 4, Patrick Vieira from France, and maybe for Italy, you have 21, Pirlo, you have 8, Gattuso, you have 10, Totti. And we are going to just apply the pipeline I developed during my PhD studies, where the thesis is publicly available, identification of team tactical formations and player positions in association football. And the idea is simply that for each team, we look for the 10 outfield players at each frame of the match. So here we have them oriented from bottom to top of the pitch. We impose a graph representation, which we call a shape graph. We color the nodes of this graph with 2 colors per player, the vertical colors and horizontal colors, where the vertical colors are from dark blue to dark red, basically whether the players are playing in the back line, defensive midfield, attacking midfield, or front line. And the horizontal colors are from dark brown to dark green. So you have left central, right central, and right. And this color combination tell you what is the player's momentary tactical position at each moment of the game. Like a player who has been colored dark blue and light green, that translates to being the right center back. So dark blue back line, right center for the basically light green for the right center, and the combination becomes a right center back. Feel free to add your questions or any comments you have on LinkedIn, and we will give you some time maybe during the presentation to think about some of the visualizations, and that's going to be a good moment for me to check and answer your questions. So when we look into the frequent shape graphs, basically we look until the first substitution for each team. We have the average coordinates for the players, the starting players, and just the basically frequent edges you see in those shape graphs, basically the ones that were available in more than 1/3 of the frames. If we just visualize them, that's the picture we end up with. You can see for Italy, you have something similar to maybe a 4-2-3-1. So this is something you can compare with the 4-4-1-1 you saw from Transfermarkt. And maybe for France, it's something also similar to a 4-2-3-1. But the issue with the averages is that we don't know whether they are really reflecting what has happened on the pitch, or it's just, let's say, how to say, misunderstanding of the concept of averages. For example, let's talk about, in this case, player number 10 from France. Right now, he's in the middle based on these averages, but we don't know. Maybe he was playing in half of the time on the right flank, in the other half on the left flank, and then taking the average resulted in him being in the center of the pitch. So that's why averages have this, let's say, drawback that we need to be aware of. And we want to get a, let's say, a better picture from each player by using the colors that we introduce for the vertical and horizontal levels. So what you are going to do, we pick a player, and we say that for each frame, this player can have any of these 25 possibilities, 25 tactical positions. We parse and go over all the frames of the match and just report what percentage of the game we observed him being in any of these cells. So here you have Zidane. Probably we expect him to be an attacking midfielder, but you can see his position map is really high entropy. So he was really showing in different cells, around 15% as a left attacking midfield, 14% a left center forward, and also he was going maybe around 12% as a right center forward. So we can look back into what Transfermarkt had for the formation 4-2-3-1 and just arrange the players according to that, the position maps of the players according to that. And that's the picture we end up with. I think when we look into this picture, maybe we can agree that the 4-2-3-1 is a good, let's say, summary of how France played in this game. Like the players in the back line, number 3, based on our 5x5 matrix here, spent around 30% as a left back, 35% as a left wing back, and around 15% in the left midfield position or cell. And maybe overall, we can say that the profile he showed can basically be summarized with a left back. Number 5, around 69% as a left center back. Number 15, 68% as a right center back. And number 19, similar profile, I would say, to number 3, but just on the right back position. When it comes to the double pivots, I think what we can see is that number 6 was mainly focusing on these 3 cells. You can see the central defensive midfield, left defensive midfield, left central midfield. But for number 4, he was mainly in the right center midfield, but he was also coming to the right defensive midfield. Maybe overall, we can say number 6 was a more defensive pivot, let's say defensive midfield compared to number 4, but both of them were the double pivots for France. We already saw Zidane, so the attacking midfield, that he was really versatile. When it comes to the wingers, number 22, Ribéry, 25% in the right forward, 30% in the right wing forward, and around 10% he was dropping, so right midfield. And you can compare that with number 7, Malouda. He was around 23% or 24% left forward, 24% left wing forward, and around 12% left center forward. So you can say that the right wing was dropping more, and number 7 was more playing inward. So that's how you can, let's say, compare the right and left wingers. And it comes to the center forward player, we all probably know him. Henry, he spent around, I would say, 23% left center forward, around 16% left forward. So you can clearly see while he was a lone striker, he had a tendency to play on the left channel and maybe pair with number 7. And maybe that's something you can see interestingly. Maybe it has something to do with the opponent players, maybe the right back from Italy, Zambrotta, that you're going to see later on. That was the reason that France was focusing really on that channel horizontally. What about Italy? We see 4-4-1-1 on Transfermarkt. And if we just place the position maps of these players accordingly, you can see that maybe for the back line, we can agree it's a good representation, back 4 with this arrangement. But when it comes to the midfield, I think we can all say that number 20 and number 16 were playing one line front compared to the double pivots. And number 8 and 21, interestingly, on Transfermarkt, number 8 was labeled to be the left defensive midfield and number 21 the right defensive midfield. But you can see based on the position maps, number 8 was playing on the right, number 21 was playing on the left, number 8 was more defensive than number 21. And it comes to, let's say, the wingers, 20 and 16, maybe we need to put them in the same line as Totti, number 10, who is clearly attacking midfield. You can see he even has a high entropy map. And then you have 20, number 9 for Italy as a lone striker. So I think we can say that 4-4-1-1 is not a good choice. And similar to France, Italy played in a 4-2-3-1. But what is the issue with everything that we said so far? We are focusing only on the starting players. And we know that during the game, you have substitutions, you have changes that the players can make, and we are missing that information. So we are going to go one step ahead, go deeper. We pick a player from Italy, for example, Francesco Totti, and we are going to visualize the colors we infer for him, basically the vertical colors and horizontal colors over the match time. And if we do so, we see that, for example, he, based on the colors that we can see for him, he was mainly dark red, but also he was dropping, so light red. So it means that vertically he was on the front line or attacking midfield. And horizontal, you can see colors are light brown, light green, dark green. So he was really changing a lot on the horizontal level. And that's the moment with the first cap that has a dot. This means Italy made a substitution, and the dot means number 10 was taken out. So Italy is taking out Francesco Totti and bringing another player, De Rossi, Daniele De Rossi. And you can see from just his colors, just irrespective of his name, you can say that the colors are light blue, mainly. He was also going to the light red. And also in the horizontal level, maybe in the beginning he was light green, but later on he really moved to the light brown. So maybe we can say he was, let's say, the defensive midfield in the left center channel or left defensive midfield, but he was showing a high versatility, at least going up and down. At least that's what we can see here. And interestingly, there is at some point in the game, close to the end of the game, he moves from the left defensive midfield and plays in the right defensive midfield. And that's what we can infer from the colors. So what if we stack all the time series for the players we have from Italy? This is the picture we end up with, where you can see the timeline of the match. You have the halftime, you have the full time, and this game, if you know, went to the extra time. So that's why you have the first extra time and the second extra time. You have the clocks. These are the moments that the match was stopped, more than 1 minute and a half. You are inferring that from the tracking data. So there is no tagging here. You have some substitution signs. These are the moments that the opponent, France, made a substitution. And you see a red card, and this is the moment France received the red card, probably remembering Zidane with the famous header to the chest of the opponent player, received the red card, and that's also annotated here. On the left side, you see the 5x5 grid with the coloring scheme we introduced. This is just as a reference for you, so you know that which color combinations translate to what position. I will give you maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You can just focus and just think what you can learn about Italy in this game and what changes they made during the match. I think that's a good opportunity for me also to go back to the comments and see if there is any question to answer. Okay, so let's see what we can learn from Italy in this game. Number 19 was the right back because of the dark blue color you can see mainly for him and dark green. So back line on the right or right back. Number 5, Fabio Cannavaro, right center back, dark blue and light green. And number 23, Materazzi, dark blue and light brown. That translates to the left center back. And Caruso, number 3, he's basically a left back because of the dark brown you can see, but also mainly dark blue. But you can see clearly that he was really going up a lot of times, at least in the time series. You can see the dark red, light red, and gray. So that's for the back line. So Italy playing a back four, and at least that's the case until the halftime. Number 8 and 21, the double pivots. Gattuso to the right, 21 to the left. Number 16, Camoranesi, the right winger. Number 20, Perotta, the left winger, and Totti, the attacking midfield, and Toni, the center forward. Let's see what we can see until the first half. I think until the first half, really, the only maybe changes we can observe belongs to number 9, that he was at some point going to the right center channel, but he had a tendency to be on the center and left. The halftime ends, the second half starts. You can see when the second half starts, the opponent makes a substitution. France here is making a substitution, and after the first this substitution, you can see number 16 from Italy, who was playing on the right, is moving to the left. So the dark green color has changed to the dark brown. And number 20 from Italy, the left winger, is moving to the right. So there is a switch of the channels for the wingers. That's what they do. And then it comes to the first substitution round for Italy, where they make 2 substitutions at once. They take out Perotta and also Totti. So Totti is going out, Perotta going out. They bring in De Rossi and number 15, the striker, famous striker they have. And I think it's interesting to see that De Rossi, when he comes in, he's playing not as an attacking midfielder. He's playing really the defensive midfield because of the light blue color we have observed for him. And number 15, he goes and continues playing as a right winger. Number 16 is continuing playing as a left winger. But because Italy probably wanted to keep the 4-2-3-1 formation, what they do is that number 21 is moving one line front. So Pirlo is going to fill in that attacking midfield position that was, let's say, remaining empty. And you can see after some time, Pierre drops, so he goes back to the, let's say, the midfield line. Camoranesi comes from the left wing back to the right wing. Perotto from right wing goes back to the left wing. You can see changing of the horizontal colors from dark green to dark brown. And maybe in this case, you can say at some point, De Rossi goes more and plays in that light red color. But I think here you can say they didn't have any attacking midfielder. So it was a really 4-3-3, I think, for Italy. Really a 4-3-3 where the three midfielders were more or less playing in the same line. It comes to the last substitution round for Italy. They take out Camoranesi, number 16, and they bring in Alessandro Del Piero. And you can clearly see he played as a left winger, dark red, dark brown. And that meant Perotto, he again needed to change his side and go from left to right. So I think it's really interesting here to see, sorry, not Perotto, number 15, I think Iaquinta, he needed to change his side from the left to the right because he came in as a substitution. So what Italy did in this game, it started with a 4-2-3-1, made some substitutions. For some time, Pirlo played in the attacking midfield, but then they moved to a 4-3-3, and they changed a lot the wingers. And maybe one reason for wingers switching sides is because of the opponent player that they are facing as a fullbacks of France. So Italy continues more or less with the same 4-3-3. The opponent makes a substitution, then there is another substitution, then there is a red card. Zidane receives a red card, but you can maybe argue that the only maybe difference you can see is that after the red card, number 21 goes and plays a more advanced role. Maybe you can here again say they go back to a 4-2-3-1 where De Rossi and Gattuso are the double pivots and Pirlo becomes that attacking midfielder. So I think that's really interesting. You have these players, these legends, and you can just watch them through the lens of tracking data, how they have, let's say, changed positions and the team has changed formations. Now we go to the next team we have in this match, France. But before that, probably that was what we can see from Lippi, Marcello Lippi from Italy doing in this game for Italy and winning the 2006 World Cup and making some people like me upset because I was supporting France in that match. But let's see what France did. So this is a picture we have for the France national team. Take your time, try to see what you can learn from this visualization. And I will again check the comments to see if there is any question to answer. Okay, for France, we start again with the back line. Number 19, Sagnol, the right back, dark blue and dark green. Abidal, Eric Abidal, the left back, dark blue, dark brown. These are the main colors we see for him until at least the first half. Lilian Thuram, the right center back, William Gallas, the left center back, and that's what we see here. When it comes to the double pivots, number 4, Patrick Vieira, the right defensive midfield, number 6, Claudio Makelele, the left defensive midfield. You can see clearly Makelele was mainly light blue, but Patrick Vieira was going sometimes to the light red. So that's how you can see which one was more defending and which one was more free to move around. Franck Ribéry, the right wing, Malouda, the left wing. You have Zidane, the attacking midfield, who you can see a lot of dark red, so going to the front line, and Thierry Henry, the lone striker. So you have some clocks. You can see these clocks are just as a reference. There is a stoppage in the game. Maybe it's a back in those days they didn't have a VAR, so maybe it was just an injury break or the referee stopped the game for any reason. So we don't see any tactical change before and after these reference points. The first substitution France makes, number 4 comes out, and number 18, Diarra, goes in. So they're basically bringing a defensive midfield for another defensive midfield. You can say that when number 18 comes in, he kind of takes that more defensive midfield role because number 6, after that, he goes more to the gray line and he becomes more free. So when we look into the wingers of France, maybe you can see 22 was mainly at the right wing. So there are some moments in the game he changes, goes to the left, but very few. Number 7, also the same at left wing, until this last moment that he goes to the right. And it's interesting to see that when they make, let's say, another substitution, in this case France, they bring in Trezeguet. And when Trezeguet comes in, he goes and plays as a center forward. Dark red and then the horizontal colors are either light brown or light green. So, and that's when more or less we can say that Thierry Henry moves from that center forward position and goes really playing, you can see the dark brown color for him before he gets substituted. And then Will Tort comes in as a replacement for Thierry Henry and keeps playing as a left winger. So Malouda, you can see here, he moves from the left to the right after Trezeguet comes, let's say before Trezeguet comes, but after that he really keeps playing as a right wing for France because Ribéry was out. So probably the significant moment in this game is when Zidane received a red card. You can see from his time series, it's discontinued. So this is exactly the moment he got into that, let's say, battle with the defender of Italy and made France continue the game with one player down. So you can hear from maybe the visualization, see that they didn't react in terms of positions. So France before was playing with the 4-2-3-1. The attacking midfield went out, but they just didn't play with any attacking midfield. So they didn't fill that gap. So we can say played with the 4-2-3 player, the lone striker and right and left winger. And that's how they ended the game and didn't basically win the World Cup trophy to make it a epic ending for Zidane with this picture that probably some of you remember. So what we can do is also try to divide the match time into segments and see how each team has played based on a visualization that we call a position movement diagram, where you can see on the left side, it's something like a weighted average of players' location, but based on which positions they have occupied during that time interval. If you're interested in more details, you can check chapter 5 of my PhD thesis, but I think it's more or less intuitive to see until the first substitution, both teams were playing really the 4-2-3-1 that we discussed. The arrows show the most common movements that they're making positionally. So the 4 white for France, the double pivots, the 3-1. Number 12, we said he had a tendency to play in the left center for left center channel, and maybe they were looking for this space behind Zambrotta. So, and when we look into other intervals, of course, the intervals become shorter. That's why you see the arrows are becoming larger and bigger. But also these arrows tell you that why looking into only average locations is problematic. For example, the third interval we have, for number 15, if you look only into average locations, he's going to be placed here. But you can see these arrows tell you that he was really going between these two channels. And that's why these arrows add that context and extra information. And yeah, I think more or less you can argue that we said, for example, that Italy at some point played with 3 players in midfield, and that's what you can see for them. So they didn't have any attacking midfield anymore. And I think the last time interval belongs to when Zidane was not on the pitch for France. You can see number 10 is not there in white. So back 4, double pivots, and 3-4-2-3 for France. Okay, let's look back into the legend, his footprint in that game when the match was in play. But what can we do is also go and divide the match time based on when he had the ball and didn't have the ball and see how his profile differs. And this is the image in position and out of position. You can see in position, still a high entropy for both cases, but in position around 70%, he was the left attacking midfield. And out of position, he was really coming to the front line, 19% in the left center forward, but still it's a really high entropy, really showing in different cells, and that's probably what you expect from a player like Zidane. So about this iconic game, I think we can talk about a lot. Here I just included some pictures from my visit to the FIFA Museum in Zurich, where you have the World Cup trophy, of course, but also the shirts that they have from the World Cup, that World Cup 2006, from the players from Italy and France, that they keep it in that museum, and maybe some of us have some memories. And it's, for me at least, more pleasant to talk about maybe those iconic matches compared to a lot of matches that we see these days. So I think this was the third iconic match we were covering. We had previously covered a 2006 World Cup match between Portugal and the Netherlands, the match that basically we saw 4 red cards. It was interesting to see the dynamic of that game. And if you're interested in the analysis, you can check my LinkedIn, the previous post, or on YouTube. The second match that we covered was the 2002 World Cup final between Germany and Brazil, where you can here see the video I created trying to follow the same approach and walk you through what we can learn about each team in that game, where Brazil won the match 2-0. And we will have some more iconic matches to be covered in the next week. And you can just keep following me on LinkedIn for more updates. That's the end of today's, let's say, presentation. What I will do is that give you some time to maybe write your questions, or if you have any feedback and comments, just below the post, and I will just check the comments section to see if there's anything to answer. So I think that's it. Thanks for the time you took. I know it was a short notice. I just announced it in the morning, but the video will be, let's say, recorded, and it will be available on my LinkedIn in the same post. So you can watch it later. If you couldn't, let's say, catch the whole presentation, you can maybe go back to the beginning and try to follow step by step. If you had any questions, feel free to add in the comments. And yeah, we will probably see each other at some point close to the end of the World Cup, the current World Cup. Maybe I have another live webinar covering one of the matches. And thanks for your attention.